The great crystal towers of Nexus Prime reached toward the purple sky like fingers grasping for the stars. Inside the tallest tower, the supreme assembly of the hegemony of worlds gathered for their monthly meeting. These beings ruled over 1,200 star systems across the galaxy. They had done so for 5,000 years without challenge. High Arbiter Deho sat at the head of the massive circular table. His blue skin gleamed under the artificial lights as he reviewed the day's agenda. Today they would discuss what their files called the Sol problem. Sol was a small yellow star located far out in the galaxy's spiral arm. Most systems in that region held nothing of value, but Sol was different. Its third planet, called Earth by its inhabitants, was home to a species called humans. Science Minister Yunbi stood and activated the holographic display. Images of Earth appeared in the center of the room. Green and blue swirled together on the planet's surface. White clouds drifted across vast oceans. The humans have achieved nuclear fission, Yunbi reported in her calm voice. They have also launched primitive satellites around their planet. Our observers confirm they are planning to send living beings beyond their atmosphere. War Commander Wanho shifted in his seat. His red eyes glowed with concern. Every species we have encountered follows the same pattern. They develop slowly and peacefully. They focus on art and philosophy before reaching for space. These humans are different. How so? Asked High Arbiter Deho. They fight constantly, Wanho explained. They wage wars across their entire planet while simultaneously advancing their technology. This is not normal behavior. Most species achieve peace before they achieve spaceflight. Yunbi nodded in agreement. The humans show concerning traits. They adapt quickly to new situations. They refuse to surrender even when facing impossible odds. During their recent global conflict, they used tactics that impressed even our military analysts. The assembly murmured among themselves. The hegemony had encountered thousands of species during their expansion across the galaxy. Most followed predictable patterns. They developed agriculture, then industry, then achieved space travel through gradual steps. The peaceful ones were absorbed into the hegemony. The aggressive ones were eliminated, but humans seem to be something new. What do our projections show? Asked High Arbiter Deho. Yunbi touched her control pad. New images appeared showing human rockets and spacecraft. Their technology is extremely primitive. They use chemical propulsion and crude metal alloys. Their fastest vessels would take thousands of years to reach even their nearest star system. They pose no immediate threat, but they advance quickly, Wanho insisted. Too quickly. In just 100 years, they went from horse-drawn vehicles to nuclear weapons. This rate of development is unprecedented. Surveillance Director Minji spoke for the first time. She had been studying human communications for months. They have something we rarely see in developing species. They dream of the stars while perfecting the art of war. Their literature and entertainment constantly reference space exploration and alien contact. Yet they spend equal energy developing more efficient ways to destroy each other. Are they a threat? Asked High Arbiter Deho. Minji considered carefully. Not currently, but they have potential. They show creativity and problem-solving that exceeds most species we have studied. If left unchecked, they might eventually develop faster than light travel. The assembly fell silent. Faster than light travel was the key to galactic power. The hegemony maintained control by being the only civilization with reliable interstellar transportation. If humans developed their own version, they could spread across the galaxy. What are our options? Asked High Arbiter Deho. Wanho was the first to respond. Immediate elimination. Send a battle fleet to sterilize their planet. End the threat before it can develop. Several assembly members nodded in agreement. This was the standard solution for aggressive species. Quick, clean, and permanent. But Yunbi raised her hand. That may be premature. The humans have not yet left their home system. They know nothing about galactic civilization. Destroying them now would require explanations to the Council of Watchers. The Council of Watchers was the hegemony's oversight body. They preferred the primitive species be given chances to develop peacefully. Unnecessary extinctions required lengthy justifications and investigations. Then what do you suggest? Asked High Arbiter Deho. The isolation protocol, Yunbi replied. We contain them within their birth system until they either destroy themselves or stagnate. Most species do one or the other when confined. Minji activated another display. This one showed the technical specifications for a containment field. We can create an impenetrable barrier around the Sol system. gravitational anomalies combined with automated defense platforms. Any object moving faster than orbital velocity will be destroyed instantly. The humans will never know the barrier exists, Yunbi added. From their perspective, they simply lack the technology to reach other stars. They will eventually give up trying. Wanho looked skeptical. And if they don't give up? Then we monitor them for a few centuries, replied High Arbiter Diho. Most contained species destroy themselves within 500 years. Those that don't usually lose interest in space travel and focus on planetary concerns. The vote was unanimous. The isolation protocol would be implemented immediately. Over the following weeks, hegemony construction ships worked to install the containment field around Sol system. Massive gravitational generators were positioned at key points around the system's edge. Automated defense platforms were hidden in asteroid fields and behind moons. Warning buoys were placed at the system's boundary, broadcasting in all known languages. Terran space is forbidden. Entry is death. The humans remained completely unaware of their cosmic prison. They continued their chaotic existence, launching primitive rockets and establishing small space stations. Their radio transmissions continued, to speak of reaching the stars and meeting alien civilizations. High Arbiter Deho signed the final decree from his office, overlooking the crystal spires of Nexus Prime. Sol, system is hereby classified as Quarantine Zone 847. No. Vessel shall enter or exit without assembly approval. The primitive species within shall remain undisturbed until natural extinction occurs or indefinite stagnation is achieved. As the containment field activated, invisible walls of energy surrounded humanity's home system. The humans could still see the stars, but they could never reach them. The hegemony had built the perfect cage. Surveillance Director Minji established monitoring stations beyond the barrier to observe human development. The assignment was considered routine. Most contained species provided little entertainment for the watchers. But as the months passed, Minji began to notice something unusual about human behavior. Instead of becoming discouraged by their failed space missions, the humans seemed to become more determined. Each failed launch led to improved designs. Each technical setback resulted in new innovations. The humans were not behaving like other contained species. They were not giving up. If anything, their determination to reach the stars was growing stronger. Minji filed her reports with growing unease. The hegemony had contained thousands of species throughout their history. All had eventually surrendered to their limitations, but humans seemed different. They seemed to view obstacles not as barriers but as challenges to overcome. 150 years had passed since the containment field was activated around Sol system. Station Commander Jinho stared out the observation deck of Monitoring Post Theta, watching the distant yellow star that held humanity prisoner. The assignment was considered punishment duty among hegemony officers. Nothing ever happened here. The monitoring station was hidden beyond the edge of Sol system, cloaked by advanced stealth technology. For 15 decades, hegemony observers had watched the humans develop within their cosmic cage. Most officers assigned here requested transfers after their first term. Watching primitives was boring work, but Lieutenant Dahyun found the humans fascinating. She had been studying their development patterns for the past 3 years, and what she discovered worried her. The humans were not behaving like other contained species. "Commander," she said, approaching Jinho at the observation deck. "I need to show you something." Jinho sighed. His young analyst had been bringing him reports about human activities for months. Each time she claimed the humans were doing something unprecedented. Each time Jinho reminded her that contained species always tried unusual approaches before giving up. "What is it this time, Lieutenant?" Dahyun activated her portable display. Images of the Sol system appeared, showing the positions of human colonies and installations. "Sir, the humans have not stagnated. In fact, their expansion has accelerated." Jinho looked at the display with mild interest. He could see human settlements on Mars, several moons of Jupiter and Saturn, and throughout the asteroid belt. They're spreading within their system. That's normal. Most species exhaust their homeworld's resources before attempting interstellar travel. "But look at the numbers," Dahyun insisted. "Mars now has over 3 million permanent residents. The asteroid mining operations produce more raw materials than their homeworld consumes, and they're building something massive in Jupiter orbit." The display zoomed in on Jupiter's largest moon. Vast construction projects covered the surface, connected by transport tubes and industrial complexes. "What are they building?" asked Jinho. We're not certain, Dahyun admitted, but the energy signatures suggest advanced manufacturing. They're producing materials we don't recognize using techniques that shouldn't exist. Jinho frowned. The hegemony had detailed records of every known species' technological development. Most followed predictable paths from chemical rockets to fusion drives to eventually discovering faster-than-light travel. But humans seemed to be skipping steps. Show me their space vessels, Jinho ordered. The display shifted to show human spacecraft. Jinho expected to see the same primitive chemical rockets from 150 years ago, perhaps slightly improved. Instead, he saw sleek vessels powered by fusion drives, equipped with advanced sensors and sophisticated computer systems. These designs are at least 2 centuries ahead of their projected development timeline, Dahyun explained. They're using material science that most species don't discover until after achieving interstellar flight. How is that possible? Dahyun hesitated before answering. I believe they've been reverse engineering our technology. Impossible. The containment field destroys any human vessel that approaches the barrier. They've never seen our technology. No, sir, but they've been studying the barrier itself. Dahyun brought up sensor logs from the past 50 years. They showed hundreds of human probes approaching the containment field at various points. Each probe was instantly destroyed, but the pattern was clear. The humans were systematically testing the barrier's properties. Each probe contains more advanced sensors than the last, Dahyun explained. They're learning about the gravitational generators and defensive platforms by studying how their probes are destroyed. Every failure teaches them something new. Jinho studied the data with growing alarm, but they still can't break through the barrier. No, sir, but their attempts are becoming more sophisticated. Look at this. The display showed the most recent human probe. Unlike the crude rockets of previous attempts, this vessel used advanced stealth technology and quantum encryption. It had approached within 10,000 kilometers of the barrier before being detected and destroyed. They shouldn't have stealth technology, Jinho muttered. Most species don't develop cloaking until they encounter other spacefaring civilizations. There's more, Dahyun continued. We've detected quantum entanglement signatures throughout their system. They're using instantaneous communication across interplanetary distances. Jinho's blood ran cold. Quantum entanglement communication was one of the hegemony's most closely guarded technologies. It allowed instantaneous contact across any distance, making it invaluable for managing a galactic empire. How could they discover quantum entanglement on their own? I don't think they did, Dahyun replied quietly. I think they've been watching us. She brought up a new display showing deep space sensor readings. For the past 30 years, we've detected occasional anomalies in areas where our stealth fields should be completely effective. Brief glimpses of artificial objects that disappear when we focus our sensors on them. You're suggesting the humans have been spying on us? I'm suggesting they've learned to see through our stealth technology. They've been observing our monitoring stations, studying our vessels, learning our capabilities. Jinho sat down heavily in his command chair. If Dahyun was correct, the humans had spent 150 years turning their imprisonment into the galaxy's greatest intelligence-gathering operation. Every destroyed probe taught them about hegemony technology. Every observation of their watchers revealed military capabilities and weaknesses. Show me their current fleet strength, he ordered. Dahyun's fingers moved across her control pad. The display showed the Sol system from a tactical perspective, marking every human vessel and installation. We count approximately 800 spacecraft of various sizes. Most appear to be civilian vessels, but at least 200 show military configurations. That's more than some hegemony sector fleets, Jinho observed. Yes, sir, and their vessels are equipped with weapons that shouldn't exist. Particle beams, fusion missiles, even what appears to be gravity manipulation technology. Jinho stood and paced to the observation deck's main viewport. Sol hung in the distance, an ordinary yellow star containing an increasingly extraordinary civilization. What does Central Command say about this? I've filed reports, but they're classified as low priority. Headquarters believes that containment success is measured by keeping humans within their system, regardless of their internal development. But you disagree? Dahyun joined him at the viewport. Sir, every other species we've contained has either destroyed itself or lost interest in space travel. The humans have done neither. They've grown stronger and more determined. Their literature and entertainment still constantly reference reaching the stars and meeting alien life. Meaning they haven't given up. They're preparing for the day they break free. As if responding to her words, new alerts began flashing on the monitoring station's displays. Long-range sensors had detected something approaching the containment barrier from the direction of Seoul. "What is it?" asked Jinho. Dayun rushed to her instruments. Unknown contacts. Multiple vessels approaching the barrier at high speed. She paused, checking her readings twice. "Sir, the energy signatures don't match any known human spacecraft." "Then what are they?" "I don't know, but they're moving faster than anything the humans have built before." The contacts reached the containment barrier and stopped. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then the barrier's defensive systems activated, sending destructive energy toward the unknown vessels. The energy beams passed harmlessly through empty space. "Where did they go?" demanded Jinho. Dayun's hands flew across her controls, searching for the contacts. "They're gone, sir. No debris, no energy signatures. It's like they were never there." "Technical malfunction?" "No, sir, the sensors functioned perfectly. The contacts were real." Jinho stared at the display showing the barrier's location. For 150 years, it had been humanity's unbreachable prison. Nothing had ever approached it without being instantly destroyed. "Lieutenant, prepare a priority transmission to Central Command. Include all sensor data from the past year." "What should I tell them?" Jinho continued staring at the stars. "Tell them the humans have found a way to test our defenses without losing their ships. Tell them that 150 years of containment may have created something we never intended. Which is? A species that learned to be invisible." As Dahyun prepared the transmission, neither officer noticed the faint energy signature that briefly appeared near their own station. Something small and stealthy had observed their conversation before disappearing back into the void. The Watchers had become the Watched. Fleet Admiral Seokjin reviewed the intelligence reports as his battle group approached Seoul System. The 47th Fleet consisted of 200 of the hegemony's most advanced warships. Each vessel could destroy a planet if necessary. He expected the human problem to be resolved within hours. The briefing documents indicated humanity possessed perhaps 50 spacecraft capable of military action. Impressive for primitives, but laughably inadequate against hegemony technology. Seokjin had dealt with rebellious species before. A demonstration of overwhelming firepower usually convinced them to surrender. "Admiral," reported his tactical officer, "we're approaching the containment barrier. Any sign of human activity?" "Negative, sir. Long-range sensors show normal traffic within the Sol system, but nothing approaching the barrier." Seokjin nodded with satisfaction. The humans probably didn't even know the hegemony existed. They would be completely unprepared for first contact with galactic civilization. "Take us through the barrier. Deploy the fleet in standard intimidation formation." The hegemony vessels passed through the containment field without difficulty. The barrier was designed to keep humans in, not to keep the hegemony out. Within minutes, the entire battle group had entered Sol system. "Admiral," called the sensor operator, "we're detecting multiple contacts throughout the system. Human spacecraft are moving toward our position." "How many?" "Approximately 300 vessels, sir." Seokjin paused. 300 ships was 6 times what intelligence had predicted. "Are you certain?" "Yes, sir. They're approaching from multiple directions. Some are emerging from what appeared to be empty space." The main display activated, showing the tactical situation. Human spacecraft were indeed converging on the hegemony fleet from all directions. But something was wrong with the sensor readings. The human ships appeared and disappeared like ghosts. "Stealth technology?" asked Seokjin. "Unknown, sir. Their signatures are unlike anything in our databases." A new voice interrupted the bridge conversation. It came from the communications system, speaking perfect hegemonic standard language. "Hegemony Fleet, this is Captain Yuna of the Human Space Force vessel Defiance. You have entered Sol system without permission and maintained an illegal blockade of our space for 150 years. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Silence filled the bridge. In 5,000 years of galactic dominance, no primitive species had ever made demands of the hegemony. The audacity was breathtaking. Seokjin activated the communication system. "Human vessel, I am Fleet Admiral Seokjin of the Hegemony of Worlds. You are confined to this system by lawful authority. Surrender your ships immediately and prepare for processing." "Negative, Admiral. Sol system belongs to humanity. You are the intruders here." Seokjin's patience ended. "Tactical target the human flagship. Fire a warning shot across their bow." The hegemony's most powerful weapons discharged toward the human vessel. Energy beams that could vaporize a mountain struck empty space. The human ship had vanished an instant before impact. Where did it go? Demanded Seokjin. Unknown, sir. It simply disappeared from sensors. Captain Yuna's voice returned to the communications channel. Admiral, that was a mistake. The human fleet dropped their stealth fields simultaneously. 300 sleek warships appeared around the hegemony formation, close enough to ram. Their weapon systems were already charged and targeting hegemony vessels. Impossible, whispered Seokjin. How did they get so close without detection? Admiral, reported the tactical officer. The human ships are using technology we don't recognize. Their hulls appear to be constructed from materials that bend sensor waves around them. All ships engage the enemy, ordered Seokjin. Destroy every human vessel. The battle began immediately. Hegemony ships opened fire with weapons that had conquered 1,000 worlds. Energy beams and fusion missiles filled space between the opposing fleets. But the humans fought like nothing Seokjin had ever encountered. Instead of maintaining formation and trading long-range fire, they closed to knife-fighting distance. Human ships used their superior speed and maneuverability to get inside the hegemony's defensive perimeter. Sir, human vessel approaching our port side, called the tactical officer. Destroy it. I can't get a target lock. It's moving too fast. The human ship slammed into the hegemony cruiser domination, crushing its hull and destroying both vessels in a massive explosion. The human pilot had deliberately sacrificed his ship to eliminate a larger enemy. Ramming attack? Asked Seokjin in disbelief. What kind of species uses suicide tactics? Admiral, we're receiving damage reports from across the fleet, reported the communications officer. The humans are coordinating their attacks perfectly. They seem to know our tactical procedures. More human ships struck hegemony vessels in kamikaze attacks. Each collision eliminated one human ship, but destroyed or crippled a much larger hegemony vessel. The exchange rate favored the humans despite their technological disadvantage. How are they coordinating? Demanded Seokjin. Jam their communications. Sir, we can't detect their communications. They're using quantum entanglement networks. We can't intercept or block instantaneous transmissions. Captain Yuna's voice returned to the channel. Admiral, your ships are impressive but predictable. We've been studying your tactics for 150 years. Studying our tactics? How? Every probe you destroyed taught us about your weapons. Every observation of your monitoring stations revealed your procedures. You've been our teachers whether you wanted to be or not. Seokjin realized with growing horror that humanity had turned their imprisonment into a military education. Every interaction with hegemony technology had been analyzed and understood. The humans knew hegemony capabilities better than most hegemony officers. Sir, we've lost 30% of the fleet, reported the tactical officer. The humans are adapting their tactics faster than we can respond. It was true. Each wave of human attacks incorporated lessons learned from previous engagements. They identified weak points in hegemony ship designs and exploited them ruthlessly. More importantly, they showed no fear of death. Admiral, called Captain Yuna again, your empire made a critical error. You gave apex predators 150 years to study how to hunt among the stars. Apex predators? Humans evolved as persistence hunters, Admiral. We chase our prey until it collapses from exhaustion. We learn from every failure and never give up. You taught us that the galaxy contains prey worth hunting. The battle continued for 3 hours. The hegemony's technological advantages proved meaningless against human determination and tactical innovation. Human pilots rammed enemy ships without hesitation. Human commanders coordinated attacks with perfect precision. Human engineers kept damaged ships fighting long after they should have been destroyed. Admiral, I recommend immediate withdrawal, advised the tactical officer. We cannot win this engagement. Seokjin stared at the tactical display showing his diminished fleet surrounded by human vessels. Half his ships were destroyed or disabled. The humans had suffered heavy losses but continued fighting with undiminished ferocity. All ships, retreat to the barrier, he ordered. Sir, the humans are blocking our withdrawal routes. Captain Yuna's final transmission came as Seokjin's flagship limped toward the system's edge. Admiral, return to your masters with this message. Humanity claims Sol system and all approaches to it. Any hegemony vessel that enters our space will be destroyed. The age of human containment is over. As the surviving hegemony ships fled through the containment barrier, Seokjin composed his report to Central Command. How could he explain that 200 advanced warships had been defeated by primitive humans, using improvised tactics and suicide attacks? The truth was simple but terrifying. The hegemony had created their own worst nightmare. By containing humanity for 150 years, they had given them time to study, learn, and prepare. The cage had become a chrysalis, and what emerged was far more dangerous than what had been contained. Behind them, human ships began dismantling the containment barrier itself, studying its technology and preparing for the war they knew would come. Supreme War Marshal Kaboom stood before the assembled hegemony high command, his face grim with determination. The holographic display behind him showed the deployment of the Grand Fleet, 5,000 warships representing the combined military might of 1,200 worlds. The human infestation will be eliminated, he declared to the gathered admirals and generals. We will not repeat the errors of the 47th Fleet. This time we bring overwhelming force. High Arbiter Daiho, now ancient but still commanding, had authorized the use of planet killers. Massive weapons capable of destroying entire worlds would be deployed if conventional forces proved insufficient. The human threat would be removed permanently. Admiral Hosiok watched the approaching armada from the bridge of the human flagship Indomitable. His tactical displays showed the massive hegemony fleet spreading across space like a dark cloud. 5,000 ships against humanity's 800. The odds were worse than anyone had expected. Admiral, reported his sensor operator, the hegemony fleet includes 12 planet killer class vessels. They're prepared to destroy Earth if necessary. Hosiok nodded calmly. Humanity had spent the months since their first victory preparing for this moment. The Sol system had been transformed into the galaxy's most formidable fortress. Every asteroid had been converted into a weapons platform. The gas giants themselves had been turned into massive railguns using carefully positioned gravitational generators. Signal all stations, Hosiok ordered. Implement Defense Protocol Omega. Throughout the solar system, hidden installations activated. Weapons platforms that had been disguised as asteroids revealed themselves. Defensive networks that had been built inside planetary rings came online. The humans had learned from the hegemony's own containment technology, using it to create undetectable military installations. Supreme War Marshal Kibum studied the tactical displays aboard his flagship as the Grand Fleet approached Sol system. Intelligence reports suggested the humans had perhaps 800 ships, but something seemed wrong. Sensor readings showed massive energy signatures throughout the system that didn't match known human technology. What are those readings? He asked his science officer. Unknown, sir. The entire system appears to be generating artificial gravitational fields. We're detecting power outputs that should be impossible for human technology. Lieutenant Dahyun, now serving reluctantly as Kibum's strategic analyst, had been studying human capabilities since the defeat of the 47th Fleet. Her reports painted a disturbing picture of rapid human advancement. Sir, she said quietly, I believe the humans have weaponized their entire star system. Explain. They've had 150 years to study our containment technology. They've learned to manipulate gravity and energy on a massive scale. I suspect they've turned their planets and moons into weapons platforms. Kibum dismissed her concerns. Lieutenant, no species can weaponize an entire star system. The energy requirements alone would be impossible. Sir, the humans don't follow normal development patterns. They've consistently achieved the impossible. The first engagement began when human fighters emerged from Jupiter's atmosphere at near relativistic speeds. The gas giant had been converted into a massive accelerator, using its gravity well to launch spacecraft at velocities that made them nearly unstoppable projectiles. Evasive maneuvers, ordered Kibum as human fighters slammed into the Grand Fleet's forward elements. Each collision destroyed both the human fighter and its target, but the humans had hundreds of fighters while the hegemony ships were irreplaceable. Sir, the human fighters are unmanned, reported the tactical officer. They're using artificial intelligence to guide suicide attacks. More disturbingly, the human attacks were perfectly coordinated. Every strike hit exactly where it would cause maximum damage. The humans had studied hegemony ship designs for decades, identifying critical weak points and designing weapons specifically to exploit them. Admiral Hosiok commanded the human defense from the inner system. His forces were outnumbered 6-1, but they fought with advantages the hegemony couldn't match. Every human ship was equipped with quantum computers that calculated optimal attack patterns in real time. Every human pilot was connected to a collective intelligence network that shared tactical information instantly. "Admiral," reported his weapons officer, "the hegemony is deploying planet killers. They're targeting Earth." "Activate the planetary shields," Hosseok ordered. Around Earth, massive energy barriers materialized. The shields were based on the same technology used in the containment field, but reversed and strengthened. Instead of keeping things in, they kept destructive energy out. The planet killer weapons fired, sending beams of annihilation toward Earth. The energy struck the planetary shields and was absorbed, converted into power for Earth's own defensive systems. "Impossible," whispered Supreme War Marshal Kibum. "No species has ever deflected planet killer weapons." "Sir," Lieutenant Dahyun reported, "the humans have turned our own technology against us. The planetary shields are based on containment field generators. They've improved our designs." The battle expanded throughout the solar system as human forces revealed the true extent of their preparations. Mars launched swarms of guided missiles that used the planet's gravity to achieve impossible speeds. The asteroid belt erupted with hidden weapons platforms that had been disguised as mining operations. Even Earth's moon revealed massive railguns built into its surface. But the most shocking revelation came when Saturn's rings began to move. The entire ring system had been converted into a weapon, using magnetic fields to accelerate chunks of ice and rock to relativistic speeds. The makeshift projectiles tore through hegemony formations like bullets through paper. "How is this possible?" demanded Kibum. "They've turned their entire system into a weapon." Lieutenant Dahyun studied the tactical displays with growing respect for human ingenuity. "Sir, they've had 150 years to prepare. They knew this day would come, so they made every moon, every asteroid, every planet into part of their defense network." The hegemony's technological superiority meant nothing against human creativity and determination. The Grand Fleet was designed to fight other conventional fleets, not an entire weaponized star system defended by a species that refused to accept defeat. "Sir, we've lost 30% of the fleet," reported the tactical officer. "The humans are using tactics we've never encountered." Admiral Hosseok proved that the humans had learned more than just hegemony technology. They had developed entirely new forms of warfare. Human ships worked together like a single organism, sharing information and coordinating attacks through quantum networks. When outnumbered, they used kamikaze tactics. When evenly matched, they used superior maneuverability. When facing superior firepower, they disappeared into stealth fields and struck from unexpected angles. "Admiral Kibum," came a transmission from Admiral Hosseok. "Your fleet is impressive, but you're fighting on our terms now. Surrender and your personnel will be treated with mercy." "Never," replied Kibum. "The hegemony does not surrender to primitives. Then you'll share the fate of your empire." The battle's climax came when human forces surrounded the remaining hegemony ships using a tactic they called the gravity well trap. By coordinating the gravitational generators on multiple planets and moons, they created artificial gravity wells that trapped enemy vessels in specific locations. Unable to maneuver, the hegemony ships became sitting targets for human weapons. Ship after ship was disabled or destroyed by precisely targeted attacks. Supreme War Marshal Kibum found himself commanding a fraction of his original fleet, surrounded by human vessels and unable to escape. "Sir," Lieutenant Dahyun said quietly, "I recommend surrender. The humans have demonstrated that they prefer capture to destruction when possible." Kibum stared at the tactical display showing his shattered fleet. The Grand Fleet, pride of the hegemony, had been destroyed by humans using weapons built from asteroid mining equipment and planetary engineering projects. "Admiral Hosseok," he transmitted, "the hegemony accepts your terms. Within hours." Kibum found himself sitting across a negotiation table from Admiral Hosseok aboard the human flagship. The human leader looked ordinary, no different from the primitive species the hegemony had dismissed 150 years ago. "Your empire ruled through fear and technological superiority," Hosseok said calmly. "You forgot that necessity drives innovation, and you gave us 150 years of necessity." "What do you want?" asked Kibum. "The dissolution of the hegemony, freedom for every species you've enslaved, and an end to the idea that any civilization can cage another among the stars. The war was over. Humanity had won not through superior technology, but through superior determination and the willingness to turn their entire civilization into a weapon when threatened with extinction. Chancellor Susie stood before the assembled representatives of 400 different species in the Great Hall of New Geneva. 6 months had passed since the defeat of the Hegemony Grand Fleet, and the galaxy was transforming in ways no one could have predicted. The hall itself was a symbol of the new order. Built from materials donated by dozens of worlds, it represented cooperation rather than conquest. Species that had been enslaved for millennia now sat as equals, debating the formation of what humans called the Galactic Federation. "Today we vote on the Charter of Universal Rights," announced Chancellor Susie. "Every species, regardless of technological development, will have the right to explore the galaxy freely. No civilization will ever again be contained or imprisoned for the convenience of others." Ambassador Dahyun, formerly of Hegemony Intelligence, now served as humanity's chief diplomatic coordinator. Her transformation from enemy agent to trusted ally exemplified the Federation's approach to former adversaries. Instead of punishment, humans offered redemption through cooperation. "The Terrans have proposed something unprecedented," she explained to a gathering of former Hegemony worlds. "They want to share their military technology freely among all Federation members. This violates every principle of galactic politics we've known for 5,000 years. The alien delegates murmured among themselves. Throughout galactic history, advanced civilizations had maintained power by hoarding superior technology. The idea of voluntarily sharing military secrets seemed impossible to understand. "Why would they do this?" asked the representative from Vega Colony, a species that had been enslaved by the hegemony for 2,000 years. "Because," Dayun replied, "humans believe that security comes from strength shared among allies, not from weakness imposed on potential enemies." Admiral Hosyak was implementing this philosophy across the galaxy. Federation engineering teams worked alongside local populations to upgrade planetary defenses and develop advanced spacecraft. Technology that had taken the hegemony millennia to develop was being distributed freely to any species that requested it. The transformation was visible throughout former hegemony space. Worlds that had been restricted to primitive technology for centuries suddenly had access to fusion power, quantum computers, and faster-than-light travel. Species that had been forbidden from developing military capabilities were now building their own defense fleets. "Admiral," reported his aide during a planning session, "the Centauri Republic has completed construction of their first interstellar warship. They're requesting permission to join the Federation Defense Force." "Granted," replied Hosyak without hesitation. "Schedule them for integration training with the Third Fleet." This was humanity's revolutionary approach to galactic security. Instead of maintaining military superiority through technological advantage, they created security through collective defense. Any threat to one Federation member became a threat to all members. The policy was tested when the Void Collective invaded from the galactic core. The machine intelligence had been expanding for centuries, consuming entire star systems to fuel their artificial consciousness. They had avoided hegemony space due to its military strength, but they viewed the chaotic transition period as an opportunity for expansion. Fleet Admiral Yuna, promoted after her victory in the Sol system, coordinated the Federation response. Instead of deploying only human forces, she commanded a coalition fleet representing 40 different species. "All ships, this is Admiral Yuna," she transmitted to the massive fleet approaching the invasion zone. "Today we prove that free civilizations fighting together are stronger than any single empire." The battle against the Void Collective became a demonstration of Federation principles in action. Vegan scientists provided shield technology that protected organic crews from machine weapons. Centauri engineers contributed engine designs that allowed rapid redeployment of forces. Human tacticians coordinated the diverse fleet using quantum communication networks that connected every ship instantly. Ambassador Dahyun observed the battle from the Federation Command Center, watching species that had been enemies for millennia working together seamlessly. The transformation seemed impossible, yet it was happening before her eyes. The Void Collective's invasion fleet was massive, over 10,000 machine ships equipped with weapons designed to sterilize organic life. But they had prepared to fight the divided and weakened civilizations they expected to find. Instead, They encountered a united galaxy defending itself with combined technologies and tactics. "The machines are retreating," reported the sensor operator. "Their fleet is withdrawing to the galactic core." Admiral Yuna's response demonstrated humanity's approach to victory. Instead of pursuing and destroying the defeated enemy, she opened communication channels. "Void Collective, this is Admiral Yuna of the Galactic Federation. Your expansion into our space has been stopped. However, we offer negotiations for peaceful coexistence. The galaxy is large enough for both organic and artificial intelligence." The machine response was unexpected. "We did not anticipate united resistance. We require time to process this development." "Take all the time you need," replied Yuna. "The Federation will be here when you're ready to talk." This became the pattern for human diplomacy. Victory was followed by offers of cooperation rather than demands for surrender. Former enemies were invited to become allies. Species that had known only conquest or submission discovered the possibility of mutual respect. High Arbiter Deho, now serving as a witness in war crimes tribunals, provided testimony about hegemony atrocities spanning 5 millennia. His cooperation with Federation investigators earned him exile rather than execution, a mercy that exemplified humanity's approach to justice. "The humans could have destroyed us completely," he testified. "Instead, they chose to build something better from the ruins of our empire." The Federation's growth accelerated as word spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had remained hidden during the hegemony era emerged to request membership. Civilizations from distant spiral arms sent diplomatic missions seeking trade and cultural exchange. Chancellor Suzy oversaw the peaceful integration of hundreds of worlds, each bringing unique knowledge and capabilities to the growing alliance. The process was complex and sometimes difficult, but it was always voluntary. "We're receiving another membership application," reported her aide. "The Silicon Gardens Collective has requested Federation protection in exchange for sharing their biotechnology research. Schedule a cultural exchange mission," replied Suzy. "Let them see what the Federation represents before they commit to membership." This careful approach prevented the Federation from becoming another empire. Membership was offered, never imposed. Species could maintain their independence while benefiting from collective security and shared technology. The galaxy's transformation was measured not just in political changes, but in the return of hope to civilizations that had known only oppression. Art and literature flourished as species rediscovered their cultural heritage. Scientific research accelerated as knowledge was shared freely across all boundaries. Ambassador Dayun found herself coordinating cultural festivals where species that had been enemies for millennia celebrated together. Former hegemony soldiers worked alongside liberation forces to rebuild devastated worlds. The galaxy was healing from 5,000 years of authoritarian rule. "How do the humans do it?" asked a vegan diplomat during one such celebration. "How do they transform enemies into allies so easily?" Dayun considered the question carefully. "I think it's because they understand something the rest of us forgot. They know that cooperation is stronger than domination, and that diversity makes civilization stronger rather than weaker." The final symbol of the new order came when the Federation established its capital on a previously unknown world at the galaxy's center. Instead of claiming an existing major world, humanity chose neutral ground where no species held historical advantage. The planet was renamed Unity, and its first permanent structures were built through cooperation between dozens of species. Each contributed materials, technology, and labor to create something that belonged to everyone equally. As Chancellor Suzy delivered the Federation's first State of the Galaxy address from Unity's Great Assembly Hall, she looked out over representatives from 800 different worlds, species that ranged from crystalline beings to energy entities to ordinary biological organisms like humans. "1 year ago, this galaxy was ruled by fear," she said. "Today it is governed by hope. The cage that once held humanity prisoner has been broken not just for us, but for every species that dreams of reaching the stars freely." The applause that followed came from vocal cords, harmonic crystals, electromagnetic fields, and communication methods that had no names in any human language. It was the sound of a galaxy celebrating its freedom. Terran space was no longer forbidden. Now it served as the foundation for a civilization that welcomed all who came in peace and defended all who chose freedom over tyranny.